Hello and welcome to another episode of Solar Sidekicks. My name is Lauren Seconti and I am joined by Pat Southwell. How are you, Pat?
Good morning, Lauren. I am great. Thank you very much.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. What a beautiful morning it is.
Yes, it is. We are back in Melbourne, actually in the CBD today.
We actually are. So before we start, I want to acknowledge the traditional landowners of where we're recording this today, and that's the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. And I pay my respects to all elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you for that. It's still curly and I'm still not going to do it.
That's okay. It's okay. Well, here we are in the city. We're in Southbank this morning.
Yes. Yep. It's beautiful. It's a nice morning. It's probably one of the nicest recording offices we've had.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Sorry, Radio Karam. Sorry. Sorry to you at your house.
Sorry about all of those. Sorry about all those people. Yeah. No, it's lovely in here. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we've made the trek in this morning. And yeah, we've got an away game today.
Yes.
We do.
Yep.
Yeah. So this morning we're in the Ausnet office on Southbank and we have a guest with us.
Yep.
Do you want to introduce her, Lauren?
We have the wonderful Mary Masters. How are you?
Hi, good. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
And thanks for coming into the city, trekking all the way. And really happy to have you in here and share our offices with you. And yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
Really
I'm
good.
Pretty pumped about today, actually.
Great.
Really pumped.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Mary. We're really grateful that you've been able to make yourself available to come on our podcast.
Yeah, I think it's really important.
Yeah.
So, no, we're really happy to make the time. Thank you for inviting us.
Awesome.
Yeah, good stuff.
For those who don't know Mary, she is the amazing lady that is always on the webinars. So I'm sure once you see the video, if you do watch it, you will see a familiar face.
Yeah. And I'm also quite regularly on the phone with people and out and about. So yeah, no, it's nice to have a role where I get to interface with so many installers and customers and industry stakeholders. Yep. It's really great.
Awesome. Do you want to just give us a quick rundown of your role at Ausnet, please, so people can know?
For sure. There's no easy way to describe it. I'm a bit of a do-everything kind of person. But no, I've been at Ausnet for 4 years now, working specifically in solar. I'm a very passionate advocate about renewable adoption, and women in renewables as well. Awesome. So really keen to champion the continued solar adoption at Ausnet. I've worked for the past 4 years really on a lot of dynamic connections. That's really my jam. So I've been working on the flexible exports trial originally with that we delivered with SA Power Networks, and obviously SA Power Networks have gone on to do full-scale rollout of flexible exports.
Did you know about that? Did you know they did that? No. I didn't know you did that.
Yeah.
I want to hear. Well, keep going, but I want to just make a mental note of that. I want to hear more about that.
It was great. Yeah,
great.
Really foundational learnings to what we where we are now as an industry with the CCPOS adoption and dynamic connections. So it's really a lot of the work that has been done over the last 5-10 years in that area has laid foundations for where we are now. Awesome. So of course, a lot of my skills I've worked on our trial and our small scale offering for flexible exports that we implemented last year, and then that's transferred into the emergency backstop. So when we got notification that was happening, I then transferred across to that, and I work a lot with my priority is customer and installers and industry, OEMs, also a lot of work with government and other peak bodies and representatives. So looking at how do we make this work?
Yeah.
How do we get it implemented in time, and now how do we continue to improve and evolve it?
Yeah, awesome. And just to clarify, when you say customer, are you talking as homeowner?
Stop stealing my questions, Lauren. You knew I was going to ask that one.
Yeah, are you talking as your customer as the homeowner, or as in I'm the customer, I've got an Ausnet portal, I submit connections?
Really? Yeah, no, it's a really interesting point. Yeah. So, historically, in the solar space, installers have been customer.
Yeah.
They have been the gatekeepers to customer as well. I know that was something that was really challenging when I first came on, working on a dynamic solar connection offering that is about the customer remaining connected and dynamically connected to the distributor, but all of that has to be communicated through and working so closely with installers. It doesn't succeed without the installers being a huge part of it. So where we're at now with the emergency backstop, that's taken a huge step forward for us as far as the relationship that we now have to have with homeowners, because historically solar connections have been a connection, right?
Yeah.
Installers do the right thing by getting a pre-approval and installing the solar for a customer, getting it all signed off. And when the job is done, it's done, right? The customer is happy, they have rooftop solar, and the job is all completed.
You make it sound easy.
Well, sorry, I do not mean to simplify any of this. No, but it is so much more complex now.
Yeah,
because at that point, now that becomes the start of our relationship with the customer, right? I mean, we have to make sure that they now understand their obligation as a solar generator on our network, right? So how we then remain connected with them and connected with customers moving forward.
I want to ask a question, and you might want to sidestep this one a little bit because it's more of an opinion-based one, but I just keen to hear your thoughts on it. So does it make it more difficult for you as a DNSP if you go back sort of 25, 30 years when we went through the deregulation?
I wasn't working in the
No.
I mean,
all I remember is being a kid and seeing bills from the SEC, right? Sure. And that's sort of where it came from my point of view. Yeah. But it was all owned by the government, and there would have been more of a touch point with the utility with the end customer. Have those rules now and what sort of transpired over the last 25 to 30 years, has that made it more difficult for you to be able to have, I don't know, maybe not a good relationship, but just to be able to foster that relationship with the end customer? Has that make things more difficult?
I think, I can't talk for the historical context, but I can talk for the past 4 or 5 years that I've been working in distributor. And I've come in at a time where for Ausnet, customer first. It's a huge change in how we operate. It's thinking about, we're not just poles and wires anymore. We are people and businesses and industries, and we need to keep the lights on and do an incredible job and do right by our customers and our communities as well. The incredible amount of work that Ausnet has put into furthering all of that customer and community is so heartening. As someone who works in that area and is passionate about customer and community, it actually makes this a really nice place to work.
That's awesome.
Okay,
that's good to know.
Yeah.
Very nice. All right, good stuff. Well, let's talk about some of this stuff with the backstop.
Sure. Awesome.
All right. Well, so Laura and I have been sort of banging on about it for a while on our podcast. It's been a very difficult time for us in the industry as installer. Where we come from, like I'm an inspector, but I see it a lot from solar retailers, from solar installers. This thing seems to have been pushed onto everyone, and it's been a really difficult time. Is there any opening comments you want to make about it? Like, we all know it's been a very difficult time. A lot of people have been pointing the finger at DNSPs, fairly or unfairly. Have you got any comments on that?
It has been a really difficult time. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I think where we are right now in the pain being felt by installers and that's not yet letting up, that we're still, on a huge learning curve working with industry is a real challenge for us. We really thought we'd be in a better place by now as far as the implementation. It was challenging for all industry stakeholders. I mean, yes, installers are feeling it at the moment, but prior to that, distributors had a very short amount of time to get this implemented. OEMs have done an incredible amount of work in driving this technology and making sure that the backstop works as well. And that, I think, often goes overlooked as well. It's been a huge transformation. And I think we're not quite ready to sit back and look back and go, wow, look at what we've achieved. But we will be soon. Yeah. And I tell you what, we're going to look back and go, this was a huge transformation. No, okay. It's not childbirth. We're not going to forget about it that soon. But we will definitely look back and I think everyone will be able to pat themselves on the back and the part they've played for the advancement of solar adoption in Victoria. Huge.
Yeah.
I think I'm also realising as well how little time DNSPs actually had to implement this. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I felt it on the forefront pretty heavily, but since doing a bit of research and in the back end of it prior, I'm like, wow, you guys actually didn't really have that much time to prepare for it, whether or not that is passed on to someone else. And I don't know who's responsible for implementing it so super early and, not giving you guys enough time, but there has been a lot of stuff in the back end, not just what we're feeling as well. So I can sympathise with DNSPs as much as it's been pretty shit.
It's very kind of you. I don't know if we deserve it, but it has been huge. Yeah.
Do you reckon? So you had the 3-month extension last year because you guys weren't ready. Sounds like other DNSPs weren't ready as well. Was it sort of pushed on really quick?
Yeah.
Another difficult question you might want to sidestep or not, or you might. It's more of an opinion base, but installers and solar retailers weren't given that same, I don't know, courtesy maybe from DCAR or AEMO, whoever pushed this on them. You got any comments on that? Do you think they deserved some time to be able to implement it as well? Because it was just pushed on them. I do believe there was extensions requested and it was like, no, this is happening. And from talking to a few people, I mean, potentially the DNSP sort of took up any slack that there was, any wiggle room that was available. The DNSP said, oh, we need the 3-month extension, but the installers weren't sort of able to get that themselves. Do you think they deserved it?
I think that we would have all loved an adoption along the lines of the SA power networks, flexible exports, scale
like
out.
postcode, like the way they did that.
Yeah, exactly. Something that gave us all time to get ready. We did have our utility server ready for 1 July 2024. That was part of the ministerial order. And that allowed us to then start testing and onboarding OEMs. So that was kind of that priority because we couldn't go live on the 1st of October without any inverters ready to, approve. So that was a real priority for us. It's a real pain point for us. We did intend in doing all sorts of soft launches and working with friendly installers and testing all of our systems. But because it was a hard implementation, 1st of October, and we built out all of our new customer portals, so obviously that was huge. That all went live on the 1st of October. So we didn't really have. We were providing the information and training to industry at the time we had it developed. There was no wiggle room in it.
So did you request? So you said you intended for that. Did you request like a further extension or anything like that?
That's outside of
that's okay. That's all right.
wheelhouse to answer.
That's okay.
Obviously, we're talking about ministerial orders here.
Yeah, okay.
It's big legislation, and it's really important, and it's our license to operate. So we have to do the right thing and tick all the boxes from a compliance perspective, and we get told that this is when it needs to be implemented. That's what we do. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. No, that's good. That's good to know. Like I don't know. It's just speaking to a few more people. It just seems to make me think that at the time that this was all happening, installers just weren't given the representation at the table. That seems like it. That seems like it was the issue.
So the feedback's been and it's been a talk between DNSPs and government and DECA and all that jazz, but none of like the installers, people doing the groundwork, were involved in it, and that's where the frustration is.
Yeah, such a huge stakeholder.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
and weren't able to get
that representation, and we are now, which is really.
I know that's a big step forward, I think, in the whole process.
Yeah. I guess it was a huge deliverable for all the DNSPs, right? To put in utility servers and connection processes and new connection offers, new MSOs going through the AER approval for that. I mean, all of this there was no part of this that was easy, right?
Yeah.
And huge pieces of work. The kinds of working groups that we have with government and with other DNSPs and with stakeholders, I actually always felt really lucky when I got to go because I was a voice for customer. I was a voice for installers. So we definitely had people in the room who would represent customers and installers in those kind of, stakeholder groups. It's not that the voice wasn't heard in the room, but for sure it maybe wasn't heard direct from installers. It was heard from people like myself who represent installers. And I think we made a few really good decisions along the way in the best interest of customers and installers. I mean, I know at Ausnet, we really, tried to think about how do we make this as easy as possible. Did we achieve it? Not necessarily, but it's big and unwieldy, and it's been a massive transformation, like I said. So we do really try to always consider those needs. I mean, personally, I'm always on the phone with installers, reaching out to installers. If we had any information, any training available sooner than we did have it, it would have been provided, and more consultation could have been delivered. But, like the webinars that we did, CEC training, we were at CEVIC conference last year. We did what we could when we could, and we continue to do that.
Yeah, fair enough. No, that's good.
It's definitely a long process. It's not something that will happen overnight, but it is getting better, which is good.
Yeah, I know, and I completely understand the perspective of installers and industry right now, feeling like they're not heard. I can promise you are. You are heard, and we do listen, and we are trying to do everything we can to take any and all feedback on board and pick it up.
Do you reckon, so you've obviously heard a bit of stuff that's been said and all those sort of things, and there's been criticism that's been thrown out. I've said my fair share of stuff.
I think it's the wonderful thing about our industry.
Yeah, it probably is.
There's a lot of honesty.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think there's anything that you've heard so far that is maybe a little bit unfair? Like any of the criticism that's been thrown out that you think, oh, hang on, that's not right? Or is there anything that's been a bit harsh or just...
I think everybody speaks from their own perspective. I think that, there might be misrepresentations or misunderstandings. I don't think we're quite at the stage of urban myths or anything yet, but we're all just doing our best, and trying to share the information when we have it.
Yeah. No, okay. That's good.
When leading into that is, when do you think it's all going to be a bit more smoother and everything's going to be rolled out? Not completely. I'm sure there's always going to be things to improve, but...
Ideally, our work doesn't stop.
Yeah.
We do not stop improving because technology is going to keep changing and advancing. There are going to be more policy changes in the future, more, drivers for solar adoption, or we might see more battery adoption, or more issues with energy security that we need to consider. And we're going to have to keep growing and improving our system. So I think the overarching statement is it doesn't stop, but the pain, when does the current pain point stop? It's disappointing that we're not in a smooth sailing kind of BAU situation right now, and we are doing everything we can to keep getting on top of the backlog at Ausnet in particular. I mean, that's a big criticism towards Ausnet, and we own that one. We do have a big backlog of support inquiries still that we are working through. And we will do more and better.
Do you have plans to work through that particular backlog? Like sounds like you do, just the way you're talking. You've acknowledged that it is there, which is a great start.
Yeah.
And then you've looked to put things in place. So you do have plans to be able to work through that?
Yeah, and we are working through it. I mean,
of course.
It's not a like we're planning to deal with these emails. Sure. We are dealing with them. Exactly. Yeah. Some of them, it's really complex. And I think that's been really challenging, is that we're concurrently working with an upskilling of industry, right? Yep. So we have people coming in going, why did this fail? And going, well, actually, I mean, there was no gate meter installed. Yep. Or maybe the Wi-Fi is not reliable enough where you've connected the inverter. Or, trying to help them troubleshoot some really basic kind of installation upskilling, which is necessary. The people installers haven't had to do that, of course, versus navigating our portal, which obviously was new for us on the 1st of October. So we're still, learning a little bit. But we get people contact us, I can't select this inverter. Gosh, why can't you do that? And we have to go and troubleshoot and work out why is this inverter not able to be selected? And it might be something really silly like it expired in the CEC API and we have to go in and update it. Yeah. But that could be, a day to resolve. Somebody's full day to go, right, what has happened here, and look into one particular issue. And if we had 20 failures that day and 20 people contact us, they're not all that one failure, you know. So, we need to work out how it is that we continue to work with industry and troubleshoot these these issues. So some of that is still upskilling, right? We need to keep getting the information out to installers about what we're seeing as the most common problems.
Yep.
So that everybody's upskilled and able to do really basic, I'm using converted commas.
No, I understand.
For everyone there,
yeah.
But basic installations so that we can get to a point where we can troubleshoot more complex issues only. Whereas at the moment, we're still troubleshooting and working with people supporting basic problems.
Yep.
And that's frustrating for us and for installers as well.
Of course. And I can guarantee you made comment that if you had 20 people contacting you in one day, I can guarantee that's probably like 200 people contacting you on one day, especially when the rollout was just so close to Christmas and everyone's trying to jam already trying to jam their installs in because of the STC drop and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's all happening around that time of year.
Yeah, add backstop implementation on top of that. It was just a horrible time for everything.
It really was.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I do think you guys are definitely working through the problems as well, and people are, now that things are getting better, they are starting to engage a little bit more. But there is still a huge percentage of people that are not engaging because it's not working.
Yeah.
And that's disappointing as a retailer. As me saying that, I've got a lot of friends that are installers and I know that they aren't engaging correctly because they're like, oh, it's just not working, Lauren. Just once it's working, then we'll get back on the network. And it's like, no, we actually can't do that. So how do you tackle that percentage of people that aren't engaging because of it, because of what is happening?
Well, first, and I just want to add, are you aware of those people, people that I suppose that you're not aware of because they haven't?
There's always going to be an element of we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
So,
that's exactly my point, yeah.
Yeah,
But
we hear it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We all know there's lots of solar that it's not been accounted for on the network.
It's definitely happening.
Yeah. Our focus right now is in supporting the people who are doing the right thing.
Fair call.
Yeah.
Like that's our priority, making sure that, you know, if someone is trying to do the installation correctly, that we are helping them get that success. I mean, don't worry, we have a lot of metrics and data on our network. We do know what is getting installed, and it's just it's pushing the pain down the road.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about like smart meter data and those. Yeah. So you can see when an IES is put online. You're able to.
Yeah. Their consumption, obviously, a household's consumption, energy profile changes when they have solar installed, even if they're not exporting to the grid. So
do you think they're? I guess it's something like you said. Yeah, you're supporting people that are doing the right thing now. Do you, as a DNSP, would there be any I guess penalties or fines or something in the future that may be brought in if people aren't doing the right thing?
Look, I will say again and again that we always look to SAPN as far as, you know, their dynamic connection rollouts. They were huge supports for us in delivering our implementation and what they've implemented with their traffic light system for installers working on their network and having to maintain a high level of compliance is benchmark for where we want to be as well. But that said, we'd rather have a carrot than a stick.
Yeah.
As far as all of this goes. So what more can we do as a network to incentivize people to do the right thing? I mean, for us, our next big goal, if we're looking a bit further forward and to happy days, is flexible export scale out.
Yeah.
And we know that that's the kind of exciting stuff that installers and customers want to be part of. And also, we really want to work a lot more on our roadmap, working directly with customers, getting them to understand their role in solar adoption and how they're going to be able to play a role in our totally renewable grid in the future, because that's where we're going. That's what the backstop is enabling. It's enabling us to have a fully renewable grid in the future by using the many megawatts and gigawatts of
that are available.
Yeah. But it has to be safe and it has to be strategic. We have to be able to use it for everyone's benefit. Whereas we just haven't had this issue previously when there hasn't been as much solar installed. And we could just allow exports freely onto the grid. Yeah. Responsibly, of course.
Yeah, cool. Well, I reckon
Awesome.
before we go to our first break, I just want to quickly ask you about another pain point for installers, and that's been about the portal.
Our portal?
Yeah. So that's been one of the sort of themes where people have really had issues from installers. Like, I don't actually deal with it myself because I'm an inspector, but so this is anecdotally and speaking to people, like in Lauren's position, other installers, they just feel the portal just hasn't been up to it, hasn't been strong enough, capable enough, and it just hasn't. That's been one of the main pain points adding to all of this together. Have you got any comments on like where the portal is now? Any acknowledgements that it has been not too good, or maybe people, I don't know. I'm not sure what you want to say about it, but it's just been a real pain point for a lot of installers. So I just wanted to know where you're at with that.
Before I handle that one off,
Sure.
I will just let everyone know that there has now been messages that pop up down the bottom when the website may be down or planned outages, which is really good. So I've never seen them before. I've heard through OEMs like, this installation is right. I know it's correct. What's going on? And they say, Ausnet portal's down. Go onto the portal. There's no message in. And I went on there last night and it came up. It's something maybe on the 17th of April, something, in a week or two. It's
Something we're working towards.
Yes.
We just changed the message yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, so
So-
that was a new update.
Yes, that's a new update, and that's come through on my end. So the portal has been a problem.
Yeah.
I know it's getting better because I use it every day. So I'll hand off the rest of that to you. So just there.
We've listened. We get the feedback in from installers. I mean, you are the canaries in the coal mine because you're the ones using the portal, whereas we're in the back end supporting it. So when we get inquiries through from people saying, why doesn't this work? Trust me, we investigate and we work out why doesn't that work. We've got a caching issue at the moment.
Yep.
I'm like, gosh, that's really frustrating. That is so frustrating. And so concurrently, we're working on what are the instructions to give back to people if they have experienced this caching issue. And it's to delete the inverter and to save a draft and to try adding the inverter again. But then we also raising an incident and going through a huge change request to make sure that the caching issue is resolved. So no one has that issue.
Yep.
We have teams of people working on continuous improvement deployments. We have obviously all built on Salesforce, which is a massive platform.
Yep.
And it's really complex. It interfaces with a huge number of systems as well. That's actually, so the notification on the portal right now is about an outage that we have over Easter because one of our very key IT platforms is getting upgraded over Easter, which was decided by the business was the least amount of impact.
By time people are going to be taking
everyone.
time off.
Well, not installers, but but we are an electricity retailer, so we have a lot of people who do work across all of our platforms, and while we understand that there's no good time for a portal to be offline, the best time for the least amount of impact was those kind of 3 business days over Easter. So we hope that installers
there'll be
enjoy
someone
some chocolate this year.
There'll be someone
Take some
who
time off.
honestly there'll be someone who'll whinge about it. At least I'm glad I'm glad you've explained that, because someone will be like, oh, I've spent all I've been building all of these up, and I'm gonna do it at Easter.
Right.
I'm doing it at Easter, and I've already put those 3 days aside, no work, but I'm gonna do all my paperwork then.
Yeah.
So you're always gonna get those people.
We're trying to get messaging out right now, just to let people know that if they do intend to work over Easter, you can. The portal won't be available, but get your pre-approvals in before the portal goes offline, and you can keep doing commissioning. I don't know when this episode's going to air. If there's any use in me giving this public service announcement at this point, but
We'll put it out on Easter Monday.
Thanks.
Oh, geez, I hope it goes out before Easter Monday now.
No, it's got to go out before. I think.
Sorry, Joe. You got like 3 or 4 out before that. Anyway,
Goodness.
Yeah, it should be right. No, that's okay. No, we'll get it out before Easter. I don't know.
it's no. I'm not relying on you to give very important messaging to industry. We will also be sending
Happy
that
to help.
All right, good stuff. Oh, that's good. I'm glad you answered about that portal. Like, it sounds like it's been hard for you guys too, and there's a lot of implementation. It's a new thing, and you're trying your best.
Yeah. We can do better, and we are doing better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good.
And thank you for acknowledging it. I think that's the best thing and the biggest thing is we all know it hasn't been a smooth rollout, but no one's hiding from it. No one's.
I really am looking forward to being 6 months in the future, looking back and going, wow.
6 months is that golden number, isn't it?
It is.
People say 6 months. And
I feel like I've said it now just because you have.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's a lot less.
yeah, well, I feel like since we first spoke, when we had our first backstop episode, that was probably, I can't even remember when
I
that
don't
was.
know. March?
Yeah.
I know. February? I don't know.
It was definitely this year, but since then there is so many improvements has happened, and maybe all it took was a big podcast about
maybe
me saying how shit everything is for everyone to get in contact and start, doing stuff. But who knows? It definitely has been getting better, and that's the main
every
thing.
bit of advocacy from industry helps.
Yeah,
and I know, when I do speak to installers and they're like, "What can I do?" I'm like, "Well, you can advocate. We all get a voice."
Yep.
I come from an advocacy background, so I know the power of using your voice, and there's been some incredible people working tirelessly across the industry. You guys are two of them, but
honestly, it's mainly Lauren. I just can't. I've done a little bit, not that much, not as much as people like Matt Wilson, Bobby McKibben, Nigel Morris, those type of people who just continuously are in these stakeholder engagement groups, banging the door from their point of view, talking about their pain points, looking for solutions.
And there's not one way to do successful advocacy as well. We have people who write emails, write letters, who talk strategically to people. You can get angry and loud, or you can get quiet and work really well with people as well. So we listen, we really do. And I think I've been saying this now for years when working with solar industry stakeholders. We are listening. Everybody's listening, and we need to hear the feedback.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to be that conduit between people, because I'm pretty stubborn. I know I'm pretty stubborn, and I can be pretty staunch and persistent on something. And I think, well, if I'm like this, I know that there's a hell of a lot of people not like me, and they won't provide that feedback. So I'm trying to hand that off to people like Bobby and Matt and say, well, here is the cases, this is what's happening. They won't come to you directly, but they will come to someone like me. So that's all we're trying to do, and just make it easier for everyone. Yeah. And this will soon be a thing of the past, which is exciting.
But it's just so exciting, like the technological advancements that we've had now and where we're going in the future, and having a better relationship with industry and hearing more from you allows us to keep growing. Solar's been, the wonderful thing I love about solar is that it's customer led, right? We have our policies and our connection and everything that we do is to support what customers want. And then obviously installers have been gatekeepers to that, because they're the ones selling the systems and working with solar and with customers. And we all play a part in this ecosystem. And if we need to hear from you if it's like, well, you know what, we need you to change your battery connection rules because we need more battery capacity, because this is where customers are going. This is where they want their own, energy security behind the meter or whatever it is. That's great. We want to hear that feedback so that we can take those steps with you. Yeah. Good solar adoption. That's what we want. Yeah.
Love it.
All right, I think it's time for our first break.
Yep, sounds good.
When we come back, we'll want to turn to the future a little bit, I think, once we come back. Great. To talk about some stuff that's happening. I still want to know about the stuff you did with SA Power Networks.
Sure.
Very interested in that.
They're incredible. Yeah, happy to talk.
And also any other dealings you've had with DNSPs around the country. Be interested in that.
Yeah, great.
Good stuff. All right, cool. We'll be right back in just a few moments.
Sounds good.
Hey solar installers, struggling to keep up with CPD requirements? At Southwell Solar Training, we're here to make it simple. Our online courses are designed to give you the knowledge you need without the sales pitch. With an affordable subscription, you'll unlock access to our growing library of technical courses, covering everything from inspecting older systems to spotting installation defects. Learn at your own pace, earn CPD points, and stay ahead in the industry. Join us today and start learning smarter, not harder. Visit www.southwellsolartraining.com.au and get your CPD the easy and affordable way.
Okay, and we're back from our first break. Great start, Mary. Really really going well, I think.
Okay, good, thanks.
I'm really happy with the way these questions have been sort of answered. We haven't sidestepped anything. You've been really, really open and honest about what's been going on. So I think industry is going to appreciate that.
There's nothing to hide.
Yeah.
We're all in this together.
Yeah, sure.
Like that's our approach. So
perfect.
That's
Really
good.
good. Really happy with that. So just before we sort of turn to the future, I want to know, you mentioned about some work you did with SA Power Networks. Did you say sorry, what was it? What was it you done with it?
So we were part of the original Flexible Exports field trial.
Yeah.
As in Ausnet or you personally?
Ausnet. Yeah, that's
Really?
actually when I came on board. At
So
Ausnet.
when was that? When did you do that trial?
So that started, well, there was a lot of, let me preface this with, stack of work happened before we went into trial, right? So foundational work on trialing and developing technology that did use the CCPOS protocol, communication, and there was a lot of like small scale stuff prior to us actually doing a flexible exports connection trial. But we did that in 2021. It started.
It's a while ago now.
Yeah. So and we actually, they're not going to be upset if I tell you this, but in the trial rollout, we actually got the first flexible export customer connected before Saffin did. They, of course, then went on to bigger and better things than we did. But that was a call out when we did a little bit of a flexible export trial. Retrospection kind of at an all energy conference. We were like, wow, actually, we did get that first flexible export customer connected. It was a really small scale trial. It was built using the switched in software communication client, and they built a utility server for us, which we used for the trial. So it had really limited OEMs who were part of it. So Fronius, part of it.
They're always at the forefront of this sort of stuff.
There.
They're incredible. Yeah. So I've worked with Rod at Fronius
for
4 years now. And just think the world of them and all of the work they do. And again, call out to the OEMs for their role in all of this, and I hope that they don't get overlooked because they've done a huge amount of work in supporting the technology, in developing software communication clients that work effectively and that are user friendly. Obviously, they want to be the best, so that installers want to use their product, but they have gone above and beyond. Yeah, it's been great.
That's good. Well, so with do you still like communicate with SA Power Networks about I suppose about how their rollout's been going, and have they been offering any advice to you about about how you could do things better, or just about the whole program? Or
absolutely. We had a lot of both formal and informal consultation with them as Ausnet, but also as Victorian DNSPs. We all kind of reached out to them to learn from them in what they had delivered, and it was slightly different because they did do a scale out, and obviously they didn't have the same pressures that we had to get an emergency backstop implemented in time for us to be able to respond to the network pressures and predicted MSL events. I mean, you've got to remember, this is why we have the emergency backstop, right? It's to protect the energy security for all people across our Victorian network, not just solar customers. So in South Australia, they already had an emergency backstop mechanism, but then through their flexible exports trial and rollout, they were able to demonstrate that CCPOS and dynamic connections can be used really effectively for a backstop mechanism. And I think this, the real case point came when there was a fault in the transmission line between Victoria and South Australia, and they had to enact, pull every lever they had available to them. And one of those was all the flexible export customers down to export zero.
Game on.
And proving the absolute value of dynamic connections, because when the fault is over, ramp them all back up again. No worries, and the impact to customer is as minimal as it can be, and it protects the security of the grid. So that's been foundational to the continued development of the CCPOS standard and dynamic connections rolling out everywhere.
Speaking of ramped up, now that just triggered my memory, you've had a few inspections.
Yeah.
And I'll let you take
Yeah. It was interesting actually. It was interesting. So I did a couple of inspections. Now I don't know if this is part of your protocol or not. So usually a system can't be turned on till I've been there as the inspector.
Of course.
And so what had happened is, I think it might have been a Tesla Powerwall 3. So battery and solar was together. So the installer was out there and they commissioned the system on the day of install, and that was all fine. I try and get out there as quick as I can. I got out there pretty quick. I think it was 3 days later maybe to do my inspection and turn it on. Already in that 3 days, Ausnet had contacted the customer and said, do you know your system's off at the moment? So, yeah, it seemed like a proactive thing.
We've given them a solar alert.
May have been. I'm not sure what it was. I don't know. They had been contacted though.
Yeah.
To say that, your system might be down or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. Now, I'm not sure if that's part of your protocol or not, because usually, I suppose you wouldn't know when the inspector gets out there until the certificate comes in, which is later on. So you wouldn't know that that's the case. But yeah, you obviously, I mean, from what I could see, you've seen that there's been something going back to the grid or a change in their profile.
Yeah.
And then it's gone away. Yeah. And then you've contacted them.
Yeah, it's one of my favourite things at Ausnet. We've had this for a really long time now. Solar Alerts platform, which tracks customers with solar export, and if at any time that goes back to zero, it waits for a certain amount of time, and then just basically sends a message saying, "We've noticed maybe something is not right with your system.
What's the go?
What's the go?" And then once we see exports come back on again, we send them a survey. We say, "Hey, can you tell us what it is that you had fixed here?" Now we actually have to update that now to include things like the reason why it might have lost connection is from the internet. So it used to be just we get a lot of feedback with it had just switched off, or the inverter was dead and we needed a new one. Really valuable information for us to have about what was going on in our network, and I love the platform to bits because it gives us real information and provides a great service to customers, and it's one of the services that we have that we routinely get like 10 out of 10
good
stars in the rating.
One that's working.
I hadn't had that, and I actually had 2 in I think 2 days. I had a similar thing happen twice.
Great.
Any zero exports on Ausnet sites?
I did see one that it was definitely at a zero export when I turned it on. There was another one went to zero export.
And it stayed
that had
stuck
been
on there
commissioned?
It had been commissioned. It's actually hard for me as an inspector to know exactly if zero export has been set up or not.
Yeah.
I don't go into the settings of the inverter and check it. All I can see is how much current is coming either into an inverter or back from an inverter, depending on if you've got batteries or not. So it's a little bit hard for me to see. And some inverters have got screens and it gives you a little bit more information.
Yeah.
But I'll generally only check that there is current there when there should be. And sometimes I look and say, well, it's very sunny at the moment. It should be, 25 amps coming through. And I look at it and go, oh, there's only like 7 or 8. And I think, well, maybe that's the export kicking in. But I don't worry too much about that from my point of view.
Yeah.
As long as it's there.
Yeah, as long as it's there. But there was one question I did have, and I'm not sure. I don't know if you're the right person to answer, but we'll give it a go anyway.
Give it a go.
Yeah. So you do, when you're doing the testing or at any time, you do have the ability to put an IES into a zero export at any time. Is that right? You're able to do that?
Well, there's a certain number of controls that exist within the CCPOS protocol, and that we are able to send to a device.
Yep.
In our case, the zero only exists for really an MSL event.
Okay.
That's when we send that particular control, and it's got its own little control name that we send. Yeah, and that's part of the capability.
So is that just a zero? Is that a zero export?
Zero export. Yeah. So for residential customers, small scale under 30 who are on our MSO, a model standing offer connection agreement, that is an export curtailment currently. Yep.
Right. So So I think you've answered my next question. So my next question is: are you able to put a system into zero production
So the CCPOS protocol does have generation controls.
Yep. Okay.
But we don't use those.
You don't use those.
Yep.
Okay. So
Myth busted.
all right. Good. No, it has a bit. No, because I've been to a few places.
Yep.
Where I've gone and turned the system on, done my testing.
Yep.
And I can't get the inverter to turn on. I mean, so it turns on.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's working.
Yeah.
But I've got no current going through. So, and I'm like, it's a bloody it's a bloody backstop. The DNSP's controlling it again, and I don't know. And then I heard that potentially you guys are not able to put it into zero production. So, and you've just sort of confirmed that unless there's an event or something. Is that right?
That's kind of future backstop control, right? If we get to the point where we have gigawatts of solar under the backstop mechanism, it might come to the point where we are curtailing generation and not just export. But that's like future kind of really, and that's really nuanced and dynamic. That's like really smart stuff. Like we're going to curtail a small percentage of everyone's generation in order to alleviate the supply issue that we're having.
Yep.
You know, that's really smart future stuff. That's where we're going to. It's really exciting. But for now, no, we're only, as part of the capability test, we test the low static export, which at Ausnet is 1 kilowatt, right? And that's one of the decisions we made that we were really proud of, because we tried to come up with a static export figure that allows customers to actually still be able to see if their system is working, right?
Yeah.
We made the decision that if our low static export was zero, then customers might question, is this even working? Right? So we said, right, low static export, 1 kilowatt. Plus we wanted it to be a disincentive for people to choose to be backstop enabled. You know, we want you to be backstop enabled. So 1 kilowatt is not a lot. It's not generous. It's not generous. Sure. We know that, but it's not zero.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So so they're kind of the customer decisions, customer considerations we made with our implementation.
Okay. So it sounds like the systems I've seen, it's probably been either installer error or an issue with the inverter or something else. There's something else going on. Yeah, interesting. I'm going to have to look into this. I mean, from my point of view as an inspector, it doesn't really matter too much. Like I do like to see the system running and current to be flowing. But if it's all installed correctly, and I'm comfortable with it.
It's not going to stop you from not.
No, that's right. If it's all fine and all the other tests are fine. Then...
But you just ping the installer and say, hey.
Well, I have done that. I've called them up, and but their response has been the bloody DNSP. You know, this backstop's too hard.
And we're all still learning, and that's fair. You know, like if they've had a poor experience with us before, then
they're going to do that.
Yeah. We need to do more to earn trust and make sure that, you know, if we're sending an error message and we're saying, hey, the troubleshooting for this is go check the CT or go check your internet, that installers can trust that we're giving them the best information that we have available at that time. Just similarly, you know, when an error message says contact Ausnet, sorry guys, that's our fault. You're going to have to contact us. We're going to have to fix that for you. Yeah. So it's tough.
How do you feel you have been going with your messaging? There has been a lot of curly, confusing emails and things gone back and forth, and I guess Ausnet not communicating when systems are down and stuff like that. How does that happen?
We are still maturing all of that, all of our comms and our ability to quickly, act on them. Yeah, has been a learning curve for us too. Error messages in particular, we got feedback from installers that they weren't very useful. And we did work with industry stakeholders to mature those and it also was coinciding with maturation of the capability test itself, right? So the capability test is a series of column responses to an inverter to make sure that the different low static export, that MSL event control, that these all work. And importantly, the last step of the capability test is leave it all functioning. Yeah, so test, leave it functioning. Ready to energize and allow full export as soon as the post-installation paperwork is all done. Yeah, so it'll sit at that low static export until it gets to absolute completion. we worked with industry to improve the capability tests, to simplify them as much as possible. We actually kind of removed the need for installers to get the low static export right, because we know that that was really challenging with the distributors having different low static exports. And also, so people were not knowing which network they're working on and setting a 0. And we're like, oh, that's the worst you could do. Don't set 0 on Ausnet, because that is harder for us to override. It's better if you maybe don't leave it at anything. And there are some OEMs also who you couldn't set a low export on their device, so you had to wait for the capability test to send that. So we've
that's complicated. It's so many. I know there's so many different scenarios and so many different things that. There's a lot of moving parts here.
Room for error. Yeah. So we're doing everything we can to simplify things on our side.
Yep.
But we appreciate that, we also have to then communicate that back out again as well, a bit better. With the error messages though, we listened, we heard really strongly that people hated the word telemetry. We heard this from multiple people. What even is telemetry? And like, yeah, fair, okay. It's actually the data. So we're not getting any data sent through from your device. That's what it means. That's what no telemetry means. But we changed our wording. We're like, great. Well, does data work? We went out and tested that with people. They're like, yeah, okay, I understand that.
It now.
Great, okay. We have updated our messaging. It now says no data is sending.
Love that.
Yeah, and that's different to. There's not anything happening at site. It's just that. The communication protocol is not sending.
It's not happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Any problematic OEMs?
Curly question.
Any ones that just are not working, just not having any luck with?
We've worked brilliantly with so many OEMs. I think I had a list here. I'll have to see if I can pull it up on my laptop. We've just come off the back of a few massive weeks of testing.
Yep.
So we've got a whole lot of new OEMs across the line. Ausnet approved. I know Tesla is one of them. I think Energy.
Tesla and SIG have been the two big ones a lot of people have been speaking about.
Yeah,
waiting for them to come on.
They are all available on our portal now.
Awesome.
But honestly, there's a list of a dozen that are just finishing off testing at the moment.
Yay.
I think. Again, credit to them, it's so much work for the OEMs to go through testing. I mean, you all kind of know, they go through an initial CSIP Oz testing with certification with SAPN doing that testing in order to get CEC listing. And then they have to come in and do testing with us, do testing with City Power Pack or UE, do testing with Gemini to make sure that CSIP,
crazy.
Yeah, exactly. That they are then approved to work on our utility circuit as well. This is a lot of work, a lot of investment for all of these companies. So if they haven't all been on the same timeline and ready at the same time, priorities, perhaps they've considered, where they needed to put their efforts in testing and development first. And then it's a really long process. It's a lot of work for them as well. So I don't know. I think again, call out the good guys, call out Fronius, call out SolarEdge. These guys who are not only developing great products and technology, but they are actively supporting installers, doing their own training and supports, and importantly, working with us as well.
Yeah, and they're actively supporting industry as well. Yeah. By doing that, they're actually really throwing their hat into the ring and saying, we want to get through this as an industry. I reckon that's good.
But they're continuing to push the envelope as well. People like Catch Power and, going, what's next? What else can we do with our technology? That's really exciting stuff.
Very good. I wanted to ask a question about, excuse my lack of terminology for the better part, but is it your low load event? Is that right? So I can't. You've got
minimum system load. Yeah.
Minimum system load.
MSL.
Yeah. No. So, okay, I'll just explain it. And I'm sure you got a word for it. So when you have a cool, let's call it a spring day.
Yep.
No one's got their aircons on. Voltage is going to be pushed up potentially if there's too much export. What are they called? Have you got a name for that?
Yeah, the MSL.
It is the MSL. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is it? What's that?
Minimum system load.
Okay. Minimum system load.
Go on,
the whole duck curve.
The duck curve, all that sort of stuff. So are you nervous about September this year when we're going to get our first sort of taste of, or whatever it is?
I'm
might
personally
be
not
August.
Nervous because I'm not the one who's in the control room pushing the buttons, okay? So we have a lot of really clever people working. And obviously, all of this comes under instruction from AMO, We don't pull our emergency backstop mechanism unless we are explicitly told to from AMO.
Okay.
That's the really big message here.
Yeah.
We do not curtail anyone's
Yep.
exports. We don't actively control.
I never really thought of that. There you go. So you don't
We're all
control the
puppets,
curtailment.
right? We don't actively control it. So what happens though is there is a perception of control, and if somebody does lose internet connection, somebody accidentally knocks the Wi-Fi or changes their Wi-Fi password or whatever might happen in the future, that is going to be perceived as a curtailment if they go back to a low static export, or in the case of, other networks, perhaps go back to zero export. So there's a perception of that network control, but I can promise you we do not have the agency to send any control commands without an explicit AMO instruction. And there will be AMO tests. I mean, this is the other thing.
tests,
We will have network-wide tests happening. That's all written into.
Are they public? Are those tests public?
They will be. Yeah, we will.
So you send communication out saying we're doing a.
We're still in negotiations about what that will look like.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So currently under the ministerial order, if we want to do Ausnet tests, we have to give a certain amount of notification to a customer.
That's fair.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole lot of parameters around when we have to communicate with them and around what kind of outages. So we're waiting to see actually the next draft of the ministerial order, which is currently being reviewed. You've already heard about that. So part of that is there will be legislated AMO tests, network-wide AMO.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because it kind of makes sense. You just saying those words makes sense to me. But I would have been not hearing those words before, I would have been like, oh yeah, there's curtailment. It must just be the DNSPs just hitting that big red button. Bloody bastards!
It's a green button, but yeah,
it's green, is it?
It's go time.
Yeah, I'm glad you've sort of pushed that. You've let everyone know about that, because it seems so simple, but it's good to get that message out, I think.
Yeah, it's a really big deal when you have MSL events, and the emergency backstop is only one lever that gets pulled. There is a lot of other steps prior to that, and there are steps after it as well if it doesn't have the right response on the network. So we have our control room, who are again very, very clever, very technical people. Not in this building.
Oh,
no,
damn.
there's
I was going to say, let me see that.
You want to see the button?
It's very high security. You have to get permission to get in there.
Game
Even
on.
me. So.
Yeah.
I've only been on one tour once, and it's really it feels exciting being in there.
Do they let you touch the button?
Absolutely not.
Oh, damn.
No, I'm not allowed. No, Mary, hands behind your back, thanks.
Hands behind. Yeah, I'll probably have to go in a straight jacket or something. Look at this psycho coming through.
Lauren, we should sneak in there and we'll get a selfie of us with our hands on the button. Yeah.
Good luck. It is really high security. I mean, we are keeping the lights on for 850,000
Crazy. That's so scary.
And we have transmission control as well. We have the transmission network in Victorian as well. So it's a really big deal. High stakes and really clever people doing great work, keeping the lights on.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. I've learned a lot in that last 5 minutes.
Yes.
I really have.
I'm only giving you my person, explanation of all of this. We're going to have another podcast sometime.
Yeah.
If you'd like to know just more about, distribution, and we have some really clever people who we could get on.
Yeah, for sure. Because this is these are all things. But these are all things that a lot of installers. It's just something they don't really think about, because all these things might happen, and there might be events that affect them. But there's so much to be. There's so much to being a solar installer. They're not just.
And there's so much responsibility.
Yeah, there is
connecting to the grid.
Oh, there's a lot.
Absolutely.
There's a lot. So I've sort of mentioned this a bit, that solar installers have to it's not just about the network connections as well. All the compliance they need to do with SAA and what else is there? There's WorkSafe as well with ESV or whoever your state regulator is. It just keeps building up and up and up and up and up, and it's just there's so many things to do. It's not like I remember when I started my apprenticeship, and I basically used to just rock up and as long as I had my screwdriver and pliers, we're fine. Like, and you just do what you're sort of told. I know it changes as you become an A grade and everything, but it's not like that anymore. They're actually like IT professionals now as well.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think we're kind of at the start of the transformation as far as, installers are just coming to terms with what does this backstop mean, and what does this new technology mean, and what does it mean for us as a business. And I think we're going to see an evolution of businesses, having to have much closer relationship with subbies going out on site, because you need to ensure that the commissioning is happening properly in order for you to be able to sign off a job, right? So while there was always that kind of difficulty, from solar retailers managing subbies and making sure that they're doing the right thing out on the network, it's even more so now to make sure that compliance, happens, that the commissioning is happening, that the customer is happy and understands, and that, they're getting really well represented by their subbies as well, because there's an upskilling that we need to do with customers as well. And we really, we do still rely on an installer to communicate so much about a solar installation to a customer. Things like, before you leave site, has the customer got a way to monitor their consumption, generation and export? Have you actually just, shown them this is what it looks like? Have a look at this little graph here, and this is what this means. You are currently exporting, or you are currently consuming your energy. And just little things like show them just, how it's connected to the internet, so that they can take steps to troubleshoot that in the future, rather than pick up the phone straight away to call you if they, have the internet drop out, or call us or call the OEM.
Someone's getting a call.
Yeah,
so
exactly,
if something goes wrong,
exactly.
someone's getting a call, and it most likely won't be you. It would be me as a retailer. And when things have gone wrong, they don't jump on the phone to Ausnet. They call us, and it is, you do have to really educate the customers. And I also can agree with you, because our relationship with our subbies it's always been really strong, but over that October, November, December period, it was like we're on speed dial. All right, you're going to 3 different stage 2s today. This crew is going to call me between 9 and 11. This crew is going to call me between 11 and 1. And you do really got to make sure that we're all doing the right thing, especially on our end, because if it's not going to be right here, it's sure as hell not going to be right on your side either.
And I think it's going to be a transformation for installers and retailers as well, thinking about, right, well, if we do have this need in the future to maintain a relationship with a customer, make sure that we do have good customer service into the future, because they have to remain compliant. How does a business transform and think about that? Do we have someone on staff whose job it is just commissioning? Do we just have somebody who gets technically skilled up just to do, that last, go out on site, do the commissioning, check that, the installation's been done correctly, commission, and then you can confidently leave site knowing that that's happened and that they're there for troubleshooting the future. I don't know, and we are not going to dictate at all how it goes. Again, it's got to be driven by a customer, because that's the best thing about solar.
It is too. It is. Before we sort of go into our last section, we'll go to our next ad break in a minute. I wanted to ask you just a little bit more about, like we touched on it before, about installer compliance. And I know you said you'd rather the carrot method than the stick, and that's great. Love to hear that. There will get to a point though where things are more smooth. I'm hoping we get there. I'm confident we're going to get there.
We will,
absolutely.
We'll get there.
We'll get there together.
All right.
What do they say? It's a marathon, not a race?
Not a sprint. Not a sprint, yeah. So, all right. So let's assume we get to that point. If we, inevitably, we're still going to have installers that are going to be taking that shortcut, and because they're used to doing that, and they just, there's going to be people doing the wrong thing, unfortunately, no matter what we do. Hopefully it's only a small number. What are the sort of things you can put in place to look to combat that? Like, are you looking at locking people out of your network potentially if they're repeat offenders, or they're just you've given them a chance. Yeah, that's it. You give them a chance, and they are continually doing, I suppose, let's say it's intentionally or recklessly, whatever you would say, but they're doing the wrong thing repeatedly. Is that something that you were potentially looking at doing, locking them out, or is it maybe providing reports to SAA or ESV or whoever it is, so then they can come down with compliance action. Is that something you might be looking at in the future?
Look, all of the above, for sure.
Yeah.
Nothing's off the table as far as our energy security goes. That's really important to remember, that it's not just a solar installer doing the wrong thing, or it's the security of our grid. And so we've got a responsibility to all of our customers, and we're part of the National Electricity Network as well.
That's all on the table. No, that's fair.
But again, like I don't want to sound all kumbaya, but we want to focus on the positives.
And that's what that's where we are now.
If we're seeing repeat offenders and poor performers, it's our responsibility as we mature and get more capacity. We're going out and we're going, right, can we offer training to your staff? Can we work out where this is going wrong?
That would be great.
That's where we want to be. But importantly as well, like again, not relying on the installers being the gatekeeper. We've got, a future where we communicate more directly with the customer, right? So a customer who is getting their solar installed will know what they should look for, will know that they need to be grid connected, will know that they have obligations as a solar generator, and will know to look for a reputable solar installer. And there are other things we can do, for sure, working with SAA or CEC or Solar
whoever it is,
whoever it is. And also, like, really our key allies and people like CEVIC and SEC and people who are interfacing and have those great relationships with installers as well.
And look, let's be honest, as much as DNSPs have been a big problem in this backstop implementation, there is also people out there doing the wrong thing, and I'm not one for rules. I know that.
I am.
Yeah, you are, but I'm not saying people come down really
we
hard.
Need rules for safe play.
Exactly.
Come on,
right. But when things are working correctly, people doing the wrong thing do need to be held accountable.
I agree.
I can see why people are going too hard, Lauren. I'm like, you know what, that's fair enough, because you're.
The thing is, we know that they're good guys working in the industry, and we know that they're
always going to be cowboys.
Yeah, and we also hear from the people who are doing the right thing that they do actually want us to crack down and seek compliance with the people doing the wrong thing, because it brings disrepute into the industry.
That's
right. So again, we're listening, we hear you, and we have big sticks if we have to wield them.
Yeah, for sure.
We would out.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and we want installers to do the right thing and play by the rules and
engage.
That's it. That's the answer, isn't it? It's just about engagement and communication.
Yep.
There's the answer to all these questions.
And start whipping asses or something.
Sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say this is not new for us. Like, we've always had people who maybe don't do the right thing.
Don't do their grid connect paperwork.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, export compliance has always been something that has been an issue with Ausnet as a network that did bring in export constraints fairly early on, network constraints. So that's always been.
Yeah, I remember the 4.5 kilowatt limit. I remember that.
That predates me.
Does it?
But I was actually
when Pat's old.
I was shocked when I did join Ausnet.
Yeah, that's because you say all these comments about being young, so bugger, not a fact.
But I didn't know solar constraints were a thing before joining Ausnet. I have rooftop solar and I have full allowable export. So it's only a tiny system, but
that's okay. It all plays a part.
Yeah, very good. And I just before we go to the break, just quickly wanted to see if you've got any comments on, like, there was a real issue from industry about the legacy systems, and now we've feel like we got a bit of a win with that. Sounds like you guys got a bit of a win too. You probably didn't want, I don't know, did you want legacy systems on there? Are you happy that now they're not part of this, or what do you, I don't know.
We didn't want the negative impact to customers and installers. That was a poor outcome. But that said, again, I mentioned before that we're following a ministerial order. We have a license that we need to maintain and legislation. And our interpretation of the ministerial order was that full site compliance was required, and that was the implementation we did. We didn't make any secret of that. That was that's our collateral, going live. This is a hard implementation, and if you are making any changes to an existing site, it would require full emergency backstop requirements. You're right. There was then a huge campaign from industry to the benefit of customer, being able to retain legacy device. It's a curly question. I mean,
Yep.
we have now allowed the retention of legacy devices on the Ausnet network.
Yep.
We've done that.
Awesome.
We've done that before there's a ministerial order in place,
Yep.
which is a really
So that
diffi-
means. So
that's
does that mean
difficult for
you're?
us.
So does that mean you're self-reporting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a fun spot for us, limbo for us to be in, but we wanted to do the right thing
Yep.
by industry and by installers. But I think the really important thing for us to stress is that while this is, legacy retention is allowable, we just really hope that installers are actually using their best judgment as to whether that is the best customer outcome for them to retain an uncontrolled device on site, or whether full backstop compliance and full, export controls would be a better option for that customer. Because, I mean, excitingly, our emergency backstop platform and everything that we've built, that is our flexible export platform
Yeah,
in
sure.
the future, right? That is vehicle to grid kind of stuff. That is virtual power plant kind of enabling. Like, if people want to be part of an energy network of the future, getting a fully CCIP-OS compliant site now, rather than delaying that pain point by retaining a legacy device, might be a better option for them. I just hope that everybody understands and is making the best judgment call at a site. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
sure.
It's not just a blanket, well, I'm allowed to keep it, so I'm going to,
Okay. Yeah, well, because there's gonna be some systems that are just not capable of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. And again, we've made it a negotiated agreement that we'll,
Yep.
do this connection under, just so we have that ability to work with an installer to see, can it be compliant? Can it be upgraded? Is there a
Yep.
firmware upgrade available for that legacy inverter? Or is it maybe a better option that that you export zero? If you can put a gate meter on a legacy device, export zero it so that you can have the full allowable export from your backstop enabled device. And importantly, you won't get caught up in any compliance issues in the future, like when we do A-mode grid testing, right? Because we're going to do, right now that the way you can pass capability testing is to switch off the legacy device, so there's no uncontrolled exports.
Yep.
And that will allow the proper site conditions to pass the capability testing. In theory, we need the same
Yeah.
for a test event in the future, that legacy device to be de-energized, switched off, so that we get a compliant result when we do testing
Makes
in the
sense.
future. Obviously, we have to find ways to navigate that. That's on us to navigate the legacy retention, because that's now part of the new ministerial order. It will be part of the new ministerial order. But it's really, think about the customer impacts at this point as to whether it is actually the best option for them. And for some, it will be, for sure. Somebody who's got an old 2 kilowatt system on their garage shed right down the back of the block, getting internet that is there is terrible, and it's just working fine, hasn't had any degradation on the generation. Great, maybe that is the best option, to just leave it there and then fill the house with a whole lot of new panels and batteries and all sorts of exciting stuff that is backstop compliant. But again, I just hope that it's the right thing for that customer.
Okay. Well, it's if only CCIP was invented 15 years ago. If we had it.
Technically it was, but it wasn't mature enough.
Was it
So
fully
they rolled it
operational?
out. So CCIP was first rolled out and tested in California and Hawaii. And I trust me, those of us on the flexible exports trial tried a number of times to say we should probably have a field trip over to Hawaii
Yeah, that
to
sounds.
check out how this
Might as well.
protocol's going. We never angled it.
Might as well just see
funnily
it face to face. The best way to do it.
enough. So obviously that was the CCIP protocol, and then we've now really clever people have been working on the CCIP Oz, so the Australian adoption of that protocol.
All right, cool. All right, well, that's good. Very good. All right, we'll go to our final break and we'll come back and wrap the show up, I reckon.
Cool. Sounds good.
Been good. All right, we'll go to our final break and be right back.
Hey solar installers, struggling to keep up with CPD requirements? At Southwell Solar Training, we're here to make it simple. Our online courses are designed to give you the knowledge you need without the sales pitch. With an affordable subscription, you'll unlock access to our growing library of technical courses, covering everything from inspecting older systems to spotting installation defects. Learn at your own pace, earn CPD points, and stay ahead in the industry. Join us today and start learning smarter, not harder. Visit www.southwellsolartraining.com.au. and get your CPD the easy and affordable way.
Oh, we are back. I don't know where it was. I'm like, where is that? We are back for our last segment. It's been a great chat so far. I have learnt a lot about Ausnet and you, Mary, and it's been awesome. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. I really appreciate it. It's been so good.
Really good.
Thanks to everyone who's bearing with us and listening to this as well.
Yeah.
I guess so. We have obviously come back from the Smart Energy Conference literally yesterday.
Yeah, like last night.
Yeah, straight back into it. And there was so much talk of the battery rebate that may potentially come out after July 1st. I reckon every second person you spoke to was like, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, everyone had an opinion or a question or whatever. It was just the buzz of the whole conference.
Yeah, and you found that a lot of the battery manufacturers, there were so many people standing around them and you could tell that they were just honing in on it.
Yep.
So I guess from an Ausnet DNSP perspective, what are your thoughts on that potentially coming in and how do you think that's going to affect energy?
I love any conversation about renewables and renewable adoption. I love that there's election policy about renewables and not about nuclear power. That's great. So fully supportive of that. We love behind the meter batteries on the network. It adds energy security. I mean, as far as MSL events go, if people are self-consuming and if they are self-storing, that's great for the grid. That's really important adoption. We'd love to see more behind the meter batteries. I think from an emergency backstop perspective, it's going to be really important for installers to check the compliance requirements around a battery-only installation moving forward. So if you already have a legacy system, is installing a battery going to trigger the need for an emergency backstop compliance? If it's a hybrid battery, yeah, it is. But if it's a battery only, then no, it won't. And just kind of consider responsibly selling batteries that are all that the customer needs is the other thing. We'd hate to see customers getting sold systems that are bigger than what they need.
Yeah, interesting. I was listening to another podcast up at the event in Sydney yesterday, and they it was mentioned, there's a lot of sharks sort of were part of the solar industry, and you hear these horror stories of people, like whether they go into regional areas and sell to people who don't really understand it, or, there's the old cliche about selling, a 20 kilowatt system to an old grandma who's maybe only going to live another 2 or 3 years, or, I'm sorry, it's a bit dark, but you know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at, like, to someone who's not really going to benefit from it. And then we could potentially see that opening up to the sharks, because I think it's going to be up to a 50 kilowatt battery, 50 kilowatt hour battery potentially. Right. Would a 50 kilowatt hour battery help on the network, like a residential 50 kilowatt hour battery? Hard to say, isn't it?
Everything helps.
Yeah.
But I don't know the answer to that. It depends on the generation capacity for that customer, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's good. Well,
and there's really exciting features as well when batteries do require dynamic connection as well. So obviously hybrids do, but it's not part of the backstop order currently that a battery requires backstop capability. But in the future, dynamic imports, dynamic exports, what more can we do to use people's batteries or vehicles? I mean, I'd love to be involved in some of those kind of trials and exciting technology that's going on there, as to how every part of, every bit of renewable energy plays a role in our energy security in the future, and 100% renewables. That's great.
It's good to hear. I'm glad you're peddling that and not the sort of the nuclear type conversation, because it's
really tough, isn't it?
Yep.
We have large scale coal generation on our network in Gippsland, and huge communities who are reliant on those industries. And it's a really big transition moving away from those kinds of energy generation and into renewables. That's a lot of work that we do at Ausnet.
Community engagement type work.
Yeah, absolutely. Bringing all communities along on the journey with us for renewable generation, because it can be really awful to have a wind farm in your backyard, particularly if you're not benefiting from that. If the power is getting generated and taken off to the city, we need to work really closely with communities and make sure that they are benefiting from it and that they're understanding why this is happening. And they're part of the transition as well.
Yeah, right. You're right. That's a huge community engagement piece, and that's a really sensitive topic.
It really is, and we have teams of people out in the regions working with communities and trying to make sure that this transition is beneficial to everyone.
What assets you got out there? There's your lawn, obviously, out in Gippsland.
Outside of my wheelhouse, mate.
It's not
solar.
It's outside of my wheelhouse too. I just hear things, but yeah.
But no, there are still large scale coal generators. Specifically on the Ausnet part of Victoria.
It's all in Gippsland, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, and huge communities who are reliant on that as industry. So we hope that there's just transition for them and that, they're all part of our energy production
that's it.
In the future.
Bring them on for the ride. Like hopefully that's they've obviously, a lot of them have got some really good skills which are transferable.
Yeah, definitely.
So hopefully bring them on for the ride as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, very good. Well, I think we're just about done. You got any more questions, Laura? I think we're pretty much done, are we?
I'm all questioned down.
Yeah,
everything I needed.
Yeah. I think
I haven't exhausted you.
No, it's been great. I've learned a lot, and I think one of the key takeaways for me is that we're kind of all in this transition, whatever it is, this big leap forward we're doing. We're all doing this together.
Yeah, and it's not just lip service. It is absolutely true. We all play a role in the continued solar adoption and renewable transition. So, I mean, Ausnet, at no point do we try to play any sort of blame game or not take accountability for our failures. And I hope that, if you haven't already heard it enough from us historically or even today, we are really sorry for the impacts to solar installers or anyone who has borne the brunt of this emergency backstop implementation. We are working really hard to try and win back everyone's trust and to work with you because we all have a role in this energy security in the future.
Love that. I mean, I'll take that one.
Yeah.
I will take that. I'll also accept that apology on behalf of the retailers and installers. I might cop a bit of heat for that, but thank you. That does mean a lot. That you are taking
a lot of them have my number.
Yeah, pretty much.
Welcome to call me anytime and hear it straight from me. Look, and we obviously hope that we're out more so, in the industry once we've gotten control of things here in the office. I mean, I'm gutted that I didn't get to come to SEC this year. I love nerding out in all those sessions. I'm not one of those really good ones who's great at like going around and networking and seeing all the new technology because I just want to be in the panels. I'm like, no, sorry. I'm just going to go learn something over here. There's a really interesting session on.
Yeah, well, that's smart. That's smart. And then,
what we should be doing, not getting caught up in the bullshit.
But also then bringing that information back to the company and going, here's what I heard and here's this trial happening here and new technology over there. And that's really exciting, those conversations and making sure we keep up with things moving forward.
Yeah, bring on all energy, I say.
Yeah, well, that's sort of the next big one, isn't it? You get a bit of breathing space till then.
Yeah. We'll be at Vic.
Vic still right.
Awesome.
You're going to that, aren't you, Lauren? Are you going?
I was going to.
Are you not going?
I've just got such a hectic couple of weeks coming up and
I'm feeling you. I know. I understand.
I just need to stay home. We're just not do anything.
Well, we're doing a panel with the other distributors, so
great,
awesome, really nice. Yeah, we always feel really purposeful going to events like COV because we get FaceTime with people who are happy to share their thoughts and opinions with us, but in a really constructive way.
That's pretty full on.
Do you know what day? Because now that you've said that, I'm very interested. I won't stay, but
I think it's 8th and 9th of May.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's down at Lawn.
It's in Lawn this year.
Okay.
Yeah, my parents have a farm down that way. So
perfect.
I'll be staying at their place.
Do they need solar?
Two, actually. Oh, my goodness. But they are up in the Otways, so not a lot of sunshine.
Cool.
A lot of rain. They'd probably do better from some sort of hydro or wind.
Yeah,
We're not into that yet, but I'm sure we can be. So let me know.
Cattle farmers, so maybe they need methane. Yeah, no, sorry. Well, really great conference. Good people go, so we're really excited about it.
Awesome. And will you be at All Energy as well?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Yeah. We've been really lucky actually to do some masterclasses the last couple of years, which is CPD.
I was in the backstop one last year.
Good. Yep. Great.
That was a good one.
What, SAA, CPD, or is it?
Yeah, there was a backstop.
CEC?
Yeah. Which is SAA now. Because
of course. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Really? So you do CPD courses that? Yeah, okay.
So we
I didn't know that.
So we get our presentation accredited.
Yeah. I know all that.
Yeah.
So it was good.
Yeah, that was so challenging because it's October last year.
Yeah, backstop had just came in.
Backstop just come in, and we had to have our presentation submitted for CPD qualification months prior. We're still trying to build our implementation and
trying to figure out how it works.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
I remember going to the Ausnet stand afterwards, and you were there, and there was just like a trail of people. I'm like, oh boy, not Mike. My queries can wait. It's all good.
But it is good. It is great. We love people coming up and telling us any feedback at all. I mean, if you can keep it clean, that's nice. But we're here to hear it all, warts and all. So it's great to get out to conferences like that.
Yep. And coming off the back of that, shout out to anyone who is still having issues with Ausnet. Please reach out to myself, and I will be sure to pass it on to Mary from there on.
We do also, we are getting through the backlog. Anything that does come through to the Solar Backstop email address is getting read and actioned and responded to. So
awesome.
Please don't be dissuaded from still reaching out to us. I know it's tough. But we are getting through all of that information and responding to people, getting to a really high level of connectivity and compliance. It is frustrating that it's not still 100% immediately, because the capability test should only take 15 minutes to run in an ideal situation, when there is absolutely nothing wrong with the installation, the internet's fine, everything
lined up.
Everything's lined up. And we have a huge number who are sailing through capability tests really quickly, and people who are following the right processes. Who they're doing the registration in band through the manufacturer's app while they're on site. They are coming straight into the Ausnet portal. They are checking, has that been successful? And then in some instances, I know you've had this before. You've gone and go, it's already commissioned. Okay,
like it's already done.
Oh my goodness, that is ideal situation. That's where we want to get to, and we've still got a small kind of 10% where it's like, we're going to have to troubleshoot that one, help get that one across the line, and it takes time, and that's really frustrating for installers and challenging for us.
Yep, it's getting better though.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Yes.
Really happy with all of that.
Sweet.
Mary, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
I sort of did ask you that's your closing comment, isn't it? I think.
I'm happy with that. Yeah,
that was good. No, it was really
closing comments. Please just keep engaging with us. Don't give up. We are all in it together. God, I feel I've said that too many times now. Sorry. But there's some really simple things that we all need to do, getting processes right, following instructions. I mean, and the OEMs have done a huge amount of effort to write up instructions, so please make sure you are following those to an absolute T, and doing the right processes for Ausnet as well. We're still seeing a lot of people who are not getting pre-approvals in before going out to site and doing a registration, and that's going to fail 100% of the time.
Yeah, of course.
We need a pre-approval because we need to have that NIMI ready in our system to accept the registration. If you do a registration on site and we don't know what's going to happen, we've got nothing to connect to. It's exactly, it goes off into the abyss. It doesn't. It comes into our system and we don't know what it is. But it
goes off to La La Land.
Exactly.
A little fairy just puts it back together.
And that's one of the ones that's really frustrating because it's a complex resolution for us to then work with an installer, work with the OEM to go, right, well, which OEM is this and what is going to be the resolution process for that? We have to terminate it in our system. Often the OEM has to terminate it in their system. And then worst case scenario is an installer has to go back outside to do the registration. That's the worst. And we're trying to do everything we can to prevent installers having to go back to site.
Yep.
So if you can follow the most basic process, pre-approval from Ausnet, out on site, do the registration through the OEM's app, come into the Ausnet portal. While you're there, check if that's been successful. Then you can leave site, right?
Happy days.
The capability test can keep running then if the registration has been successful. And obviously you've now learnt that our capability test
I go in and bang.
Yeah.
But it's funny you say that because we obviously work with new builders and there's no Wi-Fi on site. So
it's such a challenge.
I just get in and it's like failed. I'm like, I know, because there's no Wi-Fi.
I know.
So,
I hope we mature that more so, because that's a pain point, and we're obviously working with
the new build section is always going to be difficult because one of the key components you need for backstop is Wi-Fi. And new builds don't have that.
And that you need for a solar application is a NIMI. Like we're talking, if it's a new build, you don't even have that kind of information yet. So,
but it has come a lot further with new builds since we first started. And I think that's why I've been trying to push it so hard, because new builds weren't represented in this space.
Yep.
So I think that's why I've been pretty on the front foot with it. So it's definitely getting better, which I'm happy about.
Great. That's exciting.
No. So thank you for all your help.
You've got my number.
Yes.
All right, I think we're done, aren't we? We're done. Oh, we are. Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you for...
Thanks for coming in again.
That's all right.
Yes, I'm going to show you around the office next.
It's amazing.
Meet some of our team.
Yeah.
Some of the people you email with and speak to on the phone.
Absolutely.
We're in the office today.
Awesome.
Sure. Appreciate you, hosting us. And
the hot chockey was elite.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed the
carrot to get us all in the office.
Yeah. Enjoy the view here too. It's nice.
Yes, it's beautiful.
All right, good stuff. All right, well, that comes to the end of the podcast. Lauren, we're going to have a little bit of a rest, I think. I think I need to sleep.
Drive home, but I'm going back to work. You're not.
No, I'll be doing some work, but I'll just be doing it at home.
Working
no inspections today. Nice. Not unless someone rings me up and says I need this done.
Urgent. Yeah, that's fair.
Probably work tomorrow though. Anyway, that's all good.
Coolio.
After a big few days. So thanks everyone for listening. Thanks to Mary for being part of this, and thanks to Ausnet for hosting us. Much appreciated. Hopefully everyone gets something out of this, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks very much, everyone.
See you later.
Bye.